Ultrakill is a pretty interesting game. From all the weapon combos, unique enemy interactions, and story implications hidden in the lore, there's quite a lot to discuss from this unfinished game. However, one part that's a bit overlooked about the game is that it's an early access game. One that is continually changing as it eventually becomes more and more complete over time. And while some old parts of the game have changed, such as the weapon and enemy models, one part that has remained a constant has been the general level design of the game, which really shows how much more recent levels have evolved in terms of general design, structure, and scale. So while we look at how Ultrakill went from this to this, but to do that, we first need to start out with this. Alright, I won't do that again. Whatever, let's start this off right. Prelude is the basic start to the game, which is understandable considering this is not only the opening layer of the game, but also the demo, so we're not really going to see anything too fancy yet. The entirety of Prelude serves as an extended tutorial and generally focuses on setting expectations, so the level design is very linear and closed off. Granted, there are a few alternate paths and secrets to collect, but they're a lot shorter and more limited. The only main exception to this is O3, which you can skip almost the entire level by breaking the ceiling and going up with either explosives or slam storage. Another way to know is that the combat rooms are a lot more closed off and filled with hazards, meaning you don't really have the same freedom that the game later provides. This changes the dynamic of battles from one of large moves where you pick off enemies spread across an arena, to a more precise experience where every enemy is on the screen at once. One final thing to note about Prelude is the general look of the place, which is very homogeneous compared to how later levels will incorporate multiple themes or locations into the level. With Prelude, it's just industrial halls with some lava at the final level. Overall, it's an okay start that doesn't do anything special. But this is just a tutorial, so it would only be natural for the level design to advance when the game actually starts. Limbo immediately starts out by showing that the environments of Hell are going to be varied and strange rather than static and generic, as it starts out with a seemingly peaceful garden warps and twists this concept from 1-2 burning down the sanctuary to the eventual nighttime of Claire de Lune. Something else that Limbo introduces is skulls, which add an element of backtracking and unlocking paths throughout future levels. This is further expanded upon 1-3, where the level splits into two paths, which sets a precedent of non-linear levels which will be expanded on later. Additionally, environmental interactions become more advanced with throwing coins into the fountain on 1-1, resulting in a secret level being revealed. There's also this electric pylon in 1-2 that can be activated with the rail can to skip half the level, which is required for beating the challenge. It's also worth noting that this is the only time in the game that requires you to beat a future level to complete the challenge. The closest thing to this that happens later is in 4-4, which requires the whiplash from beating the same level, so it's safe to say Akita has decided to scrap this type of challenge. Arena design has also evolved in Limbo, as Akita starts to experiment more with expansive rooms contrasting with traditional cramped arenas. The geometry of said rooms is also becoming more complex, with the most notable examples of this being the rooms in 1-3. To finally cap off Limbo, the boss stage begins to introduce a trend of boss shortcuts, as the game accounts for people restarting the level to get P ranks. However, it's not really a trend that gets immediately capitalized on, as alternate paths for boss frontbacks will not really be implemented until 5-4. Moving on, we go to Lost, which takes the larger arenas that Limbo was toying around with and starts to put it everywhere, as every level is filled with these massive arenas. Additionally, the challenges in the layers start to focus less on finding secret paths or completionism, and start to focus on more traversal-focused challenges, with 2-1 requiring creative use of the pump shotgun, and 2-2 is just straight up a speedrun challenge. Other than that, it's standard fare for the rest of the stage, with the only real evolutions coming with the expanded enemy and weapon sandbox. The same can also be said with Gluttony, as it uses everything that was introduced previously to make a level that properly caps off the act alongside the Great Gabriel fight. However, it does introduce a new type of level in the Prime Sanctums, as it's less of a typical level, but rather a bonus challenge that consists of a simple path that can almost entirely be skipped, along with 2 boss fights. It's very simple, but it properly sets the expectations for Prime sections in the future. Or so we thought so. Overall, Act 1 evolves the level design of Ultrakill through bigger areas to complement the movement-focused gameplay, along with some non-linear design to further encourage exploration and experimentation with level traversal. Act 2 later takes this non-linear design and takes it to the next level. Green takes a new approach to level design by making the levels a lot more open, as in you can go anywhere on the level. Hakita also takes a Todd Howard approach by allowing you to visit anywhere on the skybox, except the design philosophy is attached to a game with actual good gunplay. This openness in level design also allows for some sequence breaking. We can potentially do all the encounters in reverse order if you're really that stupid. The combat areas are also a lot bigger because of this, as the fight can potentially span the entire map if it gets to that point. This doesn't go for every arena as there's still plenty of closed space, but it's clear the game is further moving towards bigger areas and more non-linear level design. The main exception to this is 4-3, which is specifically meant to be more closed off and dark, but even then, you still have the massive battle at the end of the level. Ref continues the trend of levels becoming less linear with the first level having 3 paths, and 5-2 continues where 4-2 left off and making open levels that you can go anywhere on. Although you can't say 5-2 is more limited in terms of sheer size due to the world looping whenever you go too far in one direction. 5-3 is more of a return to form in level design, with only a sprinkle of branching paths. However, it does something interesting near the end where it ends up repurposing previous geometry in completely new ways. Not too far off from the water draining sections of 2-3 and 5-1, or even the re-entry to the first road 1-2. One founding Ref does that sets it apart from every other layer from this point is how it approaches the boss run back. While it does in the longer run to the boss like usual, you could also potentially fight the Leviathan faster by using tools such as blast jumping, rocket riding, or slam swords to quickly go up. This method of creating shortcuts through verticality will continue to be used in 6-2 and P2, and will probably be used again for longer boss runbacks in the future. To finish off the act, Heresy once again is comprised of levels that use everything that was introduced in the previous levels, as the first half of 6 was more linear and closed, but the second half is more open with bigger areas that emphasize platforming. However, Heresy isn't just more of the same, as P2 ends up going beyond expectations set for Prime Sanctums by adding an incredibly difficult gauntlet before the expected double boss fight, adding further challenge to the stage. P2 ends up using multiple arena styles, including the Blood Tunnel, which goes back to the hazard-filled, cramped style of older stages. To summarize, Act 2 focuses more on making the stages more open and less linear, providing even more player freedom. So how does the start of Act 3 follow up on this? By leaning into this style even more. Immediately, the layer starts off the Garden of Forking Paths, which is surprisingly linear for what it's named. However, what makes up for the number of ways you can go across the level in backtracking and winding paths that make the level fun to play on multiple playthroughs. There's also the set piece of the Minotaur, which brings back the rail, which made its last appearance in 2-4 and nobody used it because slide chain is faster. Thankfully, it now serves a purpose in rail combat, as it seems like Hakita is making hazards more of a significant part of Ultrakill again. The next level is Light Up the Night, which starts off a basic platforming sequence before drawing you out into the most open level Ultrakill has. Whereas a set path you're supposed to go on, I ended up going to the gutter tank on my first playthrough, because you just do that. While the level isn't as expansive as the previous Go Anywhere levels, it makes up for giving you more risk to go places beyond the main path. It still ends up somewhat railroading you with the literal rail, which is why I have no clue why it doesn't just keep going when you're not on it, as there's multiple ways to outspeed with relative ease. The trend of potentially being able to complete the stage's encounters out of order continues with 7-3, as once again you can complete the levels in any order, which again I opted to do some sequence breaking on my first playthrough. It's even possible to beat the level by skipping quite a few of the rooms, without compromising the kill count needed to get a P rank. Even getting to the secret level encourages a strange level traversal, as you have to guide a street clearer way back through the level to burn something down. It's a very interestingly designed level, and this continues with the last level of violence, which is the boss fight. Rather than having a boss route which has an alternate path to quickly get back to the boss without the pesky build-up getting in the way, the Earth movement was already foreshadowed in the second layer of violence, and the game is stripped, throws it at you as quickly as possible. But rather than directly fight a gigantic boss for a distance like in Lust or Wrath, this time you have to climb it Shadow of the Colossus style. The path into the Earth mover is laced with platforming, enemies, and a mini-boss in the form of the defense system, making it a little more like a Diet P2 than a direct boss fight. This is further reinforced by the fact that the boss fight is a stationary enemy much like the Flesh Prison and Panopticon. It is followed up by one final encounter that's on a timer, as the fight is framed as an escape sequence. There's a theme of Violence's level design and Ultrakill's level design in general. The focus of it is increasing the scale, as with each layer there's more backtracking, bigger arenas, and overall bigger battles. If Layer 7 ends with this, there's a lot to get excited about once the rest of Act 3 is released. It's safe to say that Ultrakill's level design has certainly changed over time, from the cramped spaces of Prelude to the winding path of violence. This level evolution not only shows an evolution in scale, but it also gives every layer its own unique identity, as you get to see different level design philosophies in the same game. It's safe to say that we're still going to keep going in the direction of bigger and more intricate levels, while still potentially seeing something entirely different, as Ultrakill is no stranger to having certain powers within the layers. I mean, Gabriel's still out there, and Kia is gonna have to find some way to blow our minds with the third fight. Thanks for watching, Tony Dick, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.